Okay, welcome to day 2 of the assembly process. Since we last spoke, I was busy printing, or my printer was busy printing our control box for our cab. I had a little extra time, and overnight I decided to print another one, so we actually have our Player 2 controller. These files are included in the Thingiverse listing, so you'll have both. We also have an external posting just for this. Did this one as a remix, so you can download this separately. Incidentally, these control boxes will fit on an Ender 3, so feel free, if you don't have the printer size, if you're not using a CR10 or larger printer and cannot print the whole cab, you can still download and run off one of these control boxes. Now you can use a standalone Retropie set up on a Raspberry Pi connected to a TV. So you don't need the full gaming cabinet. This is a standalone unit. Now the difference between the two, obviously one is self-contained and one has that pass-through into the cab. This one I actually pre-drilled the holes for the USB control board, which gets mounted to the inside. Be mindful when you're mounting this, since I did not pre-design the holes into the file, you want to drill these by hand and make sure you have enough clearance to just clear your buttons. Now, I will not be using these ports on the top side, only be using these bottom ports. So make sure if you're using this particular controller that you have that USB end going off to the left there. It's going to be behind the joystick, which should provide enough clearance. And we should be able to do some nice cable management with this. It is a tight space, but when we stay well organized, it will all fit, trust me. One thing I can say, you saw in the intro video, you saw this coming off my printer, and you can see I printed it in a top-down orientation. This actually produces a nice sheen. It gives you a little bit of a reflective surface depending on the quality of your first layer. Right, so there is a slight difference in quality. On the first layer, you got a little bit more of imperfections. I guess I didn't clean the bed properly, but all is forgiven, because what I do on most of my recent builds is I actually use an acrylic covering, which kind of gives it that nice professional appearance. And when these buttons illuminate this, that are going to be in here, it's going to give it, a nice reflection off of it. It's going to look real professional when it's all said and done. So both Player 2 and Player 1 control boxes will receive this acrylic, and the acrylic actually is going to serve as my template for drilling my joystick. So, all right. So through the magic of YouTube, I'm going to get these holes drilled for the joysticks, get all the buttons and joysticks mounted, and we'll come back after a few. All right. See you in a bit. Well, there you have it. All wired in and ready for play. All it needs now is the bottom cover, which I have yet to print. This is the Player 2 controller. I will wire the cab controller, the Player 1 controller, off camera in a little bit. One thing I will note that you want to make sure, I will stress this, you want to make sure you keep the same mapping for the buttons between the two controllers. Again, it does not matter which port I plug it into, as long as they're plugging into the same port on both controllers. This way your Retropie won't get confused when you're running the same driver for two controllers. Last thing I want to point out, a little mistake that I made was actually when I measured the holes for the joystick, I did not take into consideration the clearance for this button, which has never been a problem for me before. These buttons have little protrusions on either side, and I don't think I was counting the protrusion. So I just took a pair of snips and cut off one side, and you can see it fits right up against the restrictor plate. It does not limit the movement. I may actually want to pull this cable out of the way a little bit, do a little bit better job. There we go. So a little better job of wire management. So there you go. Show you what it looks like all lit up. Boom. Okay. There you go. Again, thanks for watching. I'll get the next one wired up for the next video. Thanks.